Hello my darlings and welcome to a new mood reading vlog. Oh, I'm starting off the year great, even though it's still last year, but you know what I mean. I'm starting off this year's mood reading on the right foot, clearly. So this is my first time doing a weekly reading vlog, so I'm just taking you with me over the course of a week, and what I read is what I read. We'll see what that ends up being this week. I've already got some books in mind. Obviously, I have the book I purchased, The Princess Knight by Kate Jacobs. So I think in this one, a princess joins army school to win back her boyfriend, but instead falls for her combat coach while a war, a love triangle, and her complete lack of upper body strength spiral out of control. I've heard that this is attributed as I've heard this compared to, what am I trying to say, Chanel? I've heard this described as a medieval Legally Blonde. So I'm expecting that. I'm hoping the love triangle isn't fully a love triangle like it was in Legally Blonde. No one wanted her to go back to her douche ex-fiance or boyfriend, sorry. So I'm hoping that's the case and it's not a legitimate love triangle, because we know I hate those. I hate those. We'll see how it goes. It's listed as an adult fantasy, so I hope it is, because for some reason it's giving YA vibes, but let's hope not. So I'm going to read that one. The ravens are going off outside. The arc for The Fox and the Devil by Kirsten White has just come in. So I would like to read that too. And I believe this is about Val Helsing's daughter falling for the vampire version of Do Not Date Him, Babe. He kills people. So we'll give it a go. I do have in mind, whenever I hear the word Van Helsing, I think of the Van Helsing movie with My Beautiful Kate, where I have a massive crush on. But otherwise, it's Hugh Jackman and Kate in my mind. So those are two books I'm definitely going to pick up for this vlog. I'm heading into the CBD today to pick up some more books. So we'll see what we've got going on there as well. And we'll see, what kind of week I get up to. I'm also cognizant of the fact there's only 10 days left in this month for me to find #1 matcha, so I might try 2 today. I'll dose myself up with some caffeino and see if anything's going to knock the top spot off the top spot, but we shall see. So I'll touch base with you guys once I have returned. Oh, I should also mention Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
We'll just get out.
Okay guys, I'm back from my day out. Okay, so I got some food. I went to 7-Eleven. They've started selling onigiri. So I got some Korean beef barbecue. Sorry if I'm yelling. I had a POTS episode and my hearing's still gone. So I can't hear myself and I'm still a bit out of breath. I also got this gluten-free blackberry mousse cake from the Hello Kitty thing. I got some bath bombs for Indy. I went to the library. I picked up No Women Were Harmed, but the gentlemen had better watch their backs. This is by Heather Mottershead. And so I've got this as an option to read. I've also got this Monster of Mine by Shalini Abesekara. Let Justice Be Done. I think this is a bit of a dark fantasy. And I also got something for an upcoming, Reddit vlog. And one of my books that I bought previously, The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley, came in. This is an Owl Crate edition. I think it's absolutely stunning. It is very pretty. It's got sprayed edges with the moon phases, which I just love. And on the top, we've got potions and poison. Look, it is absolutely stunning, this edition. This wasn't a 5-star for me, but it was close. Look at that. That's an alternative cover to this one. And then we've got printed on the actual book, this is a rose petal cover as well. We've got this beautiful image printed on the book, all this beautiful cover art. And then inside, gorgeous end papers. So absolutely beautiful tableaus. So I don't have any regrets. I think this is absolutely stunning. I love it. So I wouldn't mind having this kind of shelf jewelry on my bookshelves. But yeah, this was a very funny book. I know it started off as a fanfic, but to me, I don't feel like it reads... I didn't read the original fanfic. And I don't feel, besides them looking similar to Draco and Hermione, I don't feel like this is a Draco and Hermione book. Osric doesn't read as Draco to me. So I don't see it as fanfic. I see it as a book in its own right. So that's why I'm happy to purchase it. It doesn't matter what the original inspiration was to me. This book is its own book. But the original author of the series that the original fanfic was based on can fuck right off the edge of a cliff with her hateful commentary. So that was everything that I purchased today. And I popped into Honey Birdette and I had a lovely conversation with the beautiful women there. And I got the safety tag off, but they let me know there's a bra coming in, and I'm in the search for a good gold bra. The bra I have that's gold is by Agent Provocateur, but it just doesn't make my titties look nice in it. It's a beautiful bra, but on me, it just isn't flattering. And I found that with a lot of the Agent Provocateurs. I love the way the bras look, but then on me, it just doesn't do anything flattering with the cleavage. And I like to have good cleavage if I'm going to put a bra on. Otherwise, why put a bra on? Better off going braless. So I'm in the hunt for one, and I love Honey Birdette, especially when they have jewelry attached, and the gold one that's coming in has jewelry, and I'm just a sucker for bra jewelry. So yeah, Honey Birdette I think is my favorite lingerie because it looks pretty and it looks good on me, except their bottoms are not that great. They do the G-strings that are just the string, so it's just got one piece of string, and I just think that's not very sexy. It looks like butt floss to me. You know, have a little bit of a V, a little bit of a whale tail instead of the T-bone string G-string. Personally, I love it. You know, I love a Brazilian cut, and I think they need to do a bit more lace Brazilian cut, cheeky cuts. That would be fantastic. But most of the time it's either full brief, which I don't love, or the T-bone G-string, which also. But I would like to have more matching sets. I have to like the bottoms too. So I think the book that I'm going to start with, because I just read a historical. Oh, I just finished a book. Oh my God, let me tell you. I forgot. So I was reading the NetGalley book. I have to get my notes up because I obviously typed my notes up while I was on the tram. Okay, here we go. What was I reading? The Fox and the Devil by Kirsten White. So that's the book I was reading. I'll put the publication date up here when it's going to be published. So we have Anneke van Helsing, the daughter of a forensic vampire hunter, and she comes home one night to find dear old dad very, very dead, and a very sexy lady standing above his corpse saying that he definitely deserved it. Instead of relying on the cops to solve the mystery, which they don't, they rule her father's death as a suicide, she goes on the hunt, forms a murder squad, invents forensic science on the spot, and spends a huge amount of time reading the bloody love letters sent to her by her father's supposed killer. Diavola, that's what this lady likes to call herself. It means the devil. And as the bodies start piling up, Anneke begins to wonder if she's falling in love with her father's killer, a vampire, or both. Now, unfortunately, this didn't work for me. I'll start off with the positives. It's very queer. A lot of the characters seem to be bisexual. Sometimes they're poly, sometimes not. It just seems queerness is normalized in this. I like the idea of the book. It was reminding me the synopsis reminded me of two books that I did like, which were Strange Beasts by Susan J. Morris and Murder at Spindle Manor by Morgan Stang. So I love those two, would recommend those two. Unfortunately, it didn't end up being as much like those two books as I was hoping. First of all, even though this is meant to be an adult romance, it did end up feeling YA. Secondly, we've got this sapphic romance between Anneke and Diavola, which just felt icky, for one, because it's supposed to be her father's killer. So why does Diavola start writing her love letters? I was like, why are you doing this? This is weird. Especially because they hadn't had any interaction since the first time they met standing above her father's corpse. So it was a bit of an odd choice. And we're told that Anarchy can't have sex really with anybody. We're introduced to one of her exes, and she can't have sex because she just keeps thinking about this woman. And I'm like, bitch, for years, really? And you've not met her since you first saw her that one day during that very traumatic moment? No, it felt weird. Speaking of breaking up with her ex, so she dated this guy, David, and she keeps going on about how she broke his heart. She just broke his heart. She ruined him. He'll never get over her. And yet in the book, he's clearly in a nice kind of relationship with another guy that's also part of her murder squad. So it's like, woman, get over yourself. He's gotten over you. You're not, you're not as hot shit as you think you are. And that's the biggest issue I had with this character. She was so up herself. She had a massively inflated ego. She was just a know-it-all. Like I said, she invented forensic science. She's just an expert in everything. She's so highly intelligent, guys. We're told, oh, you're so smart. You're wicked smart. And it just was cringe. Yeah, I was like, oh, tone it down a bit. Stop telling me how smart you are. It's not a good look on you. So I didn't like the main character. I've read about very intelligent women detectives before, like the Spindle Manor book. That was just well done. They don't toot their own horn, and they're not cocky. But what was I saying? The romance. This hinges very much on this romance, this beautiful long-distance letter romance between the Avola and Anarchy, and it was just, like I said, I didn't buy it. It's not there. What romance? What relationship? What are you talking about? The book had horrible pacing. It was so slow. It then did these time jumps where all of a sudden, like I said, she's met these people and then all of a sudden they're her murder squad and they're tight. They've got a family bond. But then we get characters killed off page, which is a choice. It just was all written in this way that you can't connect to anybody. You don't care about anybody. And so therefore their deaths feel empty. The friendships feel written and inauthentic. We've also got the paranormal stuff not happening until halfway through the book. So the whole front half of the book is just about boring, uninteresting detective chatter. Oh, there's a murder. She goes to the murder scene. She describes the murder scene. She tells the cops how to do their job and how to test the evidence and how the murder was done, yada, yada, yada. And then once again, goes to another murder scene. It's just rinse and repeat. And it was very repetitive. And then the whole answer to the riddle of her father's death and the creatures involved was so lackluster. I was like, is that it? Like, okay, it wasn't very clever. The whole associations of Van Helsing's and Dracula just felt forced. It just felt like it was used as a way to build the lore and mythology without actually building the lore and mythology. And then we had the Avola, whose origin story is that she's from Greece. And which island is she from? Lesbos. And I was like, okay, out of all the Lesbos, cool. And just the whole thing with the Greek lore and superstition then shoehorned in, it just felt out of place. I don't know, everything about this book didn't appeal to me. So the writing didn't appeal to me, and the way the story was structured and the character building, like I said, it felt like a Temu version of Murder at Spindle Manor and Strange Beast by Susan J. Morris. I didn't like it. And I think for me, this is now signaling the death knell of trying Kirsten White books. I've tried a couple. I think the one I enjoyed the most was Mr. Magic. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but even that was mid. So I think this author's just not for me, but this one just, like I said, because I'd like those other two books, I thought this was more of the same. So therefore I was pretty confident it would be up my alley. I try not to request books on NetGalley unless I'm fairly certain they're for me, because I don't know why I feel extra bad when I don't like an arc. So I try not to request arcs I don't think I'm not going to love. But yeah, this just didn't work for me on multiple levels. So there's no sex in this also. It's alluded to, it's mentioned, but there's nothing romance-wise. And like I said, the romances in this left me cold. So unfortunately, not a great start. I ended up giving that a 2.75. So like I said, I will eventually read the Night book that I own, but I'm going to go on to this one next. Or should I go on to this? You know what? Yeah, let's go on to some dark, fucked up shit. Let's see how it goes. What is this about? Sarai doesn't know why someone tried to kill her, but she does know that her case was closed without justice. 4 years later, she returns to the scene of the crime with a new face and a new job as a petitor, a prosecutor who can magically detect lies. So she's a human lie detector, and she's assigned to work with the ice-cold, sadistic Tetrarch Kaldra, the most vicious of the 4 judges who rule the land. Oh, gotta go get that. And a prime suspect in her own death. Okay guys, I'm back and I got more book mail. So I got some money for my birthday, as you would have seen, and what did I buy? I bought books. I bought more fancy editions. Yes, I spent some money on some pretty books. Hey Sylvie, you like that box? Cats and boxes. Okay, so I bought 2. So the first book I bought is Which Would Not by Olivia Atwater. So this was a 5-star read for me. This is just a simple sprayed edge edition, but it's got a leather, well, probably a fake leather bound cover with foiling that I just thought was so lovely. And then it's got some patterned end pages. And it is signed as well. And it's the same on the back. I don't want to split it because that looks like it might crack. It's also got a fabric. And here is the other one, so it kind of matches. And this one has a velvet cover with foiling. So this is black velvet. And these are the end pages for this one. So this one I can open quite easily. I treated myself. There's also, I've got my eye on the broken binding edition of Joe Abercrombie's The Devils. Bless you, darling. My daughter's homesick. So I'm trying to like persuade myself not to buy it, but still got the tab open, you know, in case I make some unexpected money. I have to say, this Owl Crate edition, phenomenal, absolutely gorgeous. Normally only Fairy Loot do this kind of level of execution, but this is amazing. Now I'm like, do I get an Owl Crate subscription again? I used to have one, but I wasn't that pleased with the books that were chosen. Even though fantasy is still my favorite genre, I am very fussy with it. But anyway, see you guys later. All right, good morning, my beautiful people. I am here because I've got not reading news for you, but I've got a book. So this just arrived. This is Divine Tides, The Infernal Bloom, Book 1 by Nala Verne. So Nala is a booktuber and she is delightful. She's an absolute inspiration to me and I adore her. So I highly recommend you check out her channel. I'll link her below. I believe this is about a girl who grows up in a no fun and games airship, and then one day she meets a hot pirate disaster man and also possibly gets noticed by a death god and must decide whether to trust or defy. I will give you a proper synopsis once I've started reading it. It is a chunky book. It's almost 500 pages. But yes, I saw that Nala had published a book and I wanted to support her, and it's a lovely rose petal finish. So I know it has an alternative cover, which I'll put up on the screen. So I will be reading this in this vlog. I am heading to the library today. I'm just trying to see if I have anything else. I'm heading to the library today because some books have come in. So I'll grab those and show you what they are. And otherwise, oh yeah, I'll touch base with some reading updates.
Hey honey, you comfy?
I forgot. This is the book that I picked up, Hey Kitties, from the library today.
Nowhere is safe. You should have left me alone.
Oh, you need a lozenge or something?
It's too hard to decorate it. This is Valentine's. In front of Sylvie, she keeps wagging her tail around, so Sylvie keeps going for it, and then Nova gets upset when Sylvie goes for it. But she's just flicking it around.
Sylvie's a very playful kitty.
Like, how is Sylvie meant to to resist? Nova, it's your own fault. Hey guys. So, this 1 week vlog has gone for 1 month. Oh, what a way to start. So yeah, I got really sick, totally bedridden for 2 weeks. I'm on day 16. I'm still not 100%. You can hear it in my voice. I'm not contagious anymore, so the doctors did say I can go out and about, but I'm struggling to kick it. But it did wipe me out. I think it was the amalgamation of all the stress I've been going through the past few months, the machete gangs, who are back, by the way. They're at it again. The car accident, the house repairs, the health issues. It was just a lot of stuff that I was going through. And I think the stress finally got to me and absolutely took me out of play, out of commission, taken offline. For the first 5 days, I couldn't even utter a syllable, couldn't talk at all, and I was bedridden. So thanks to my mum, who in the first couple of days dropped off meals because I was fever fucked and could not stand up, let alone sit there and cook, 3 meals for my kids. I was unable to eat for so many days because I couldn't even swallow my own spit. It was just a great time, but there's always something to learn from illness, and yeah, I'm glad for the rest. Wish I didn't get sick, but you know how it is. It's frustrating, but it was obviously necessary. Obviously, during that time, while I was waylaid, I read a ton of books. I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of things too. The best things I watched were The Mighty Nine, which is a TV series based on the D&D campaign Critical Role. It's an animated show. It's so fucking funny, guys. I was laughing my ass off. It's violent as well. There's titties too, but it's a good show. It's an adult cartoon. Would recommend. And the best movie I watched was Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro. So it's his version adaptation of it. I thought it was great. The only things I didn't like was the copious, violent, horrific animal deaths and killings that were in there. That was a bit full on for me. And Mia Goth did not work for me in that role. She was not believable as the object of obsession of 3 different men. And just the way she delivered her lines was weird and odd. And yeah, I didn't like her in that role. But would I bang Frankenstein's monster? Yes. Like I said, I apologize for my voice. This is the best it has been, and time's a ticking. I gotta get stuff done. So I'm not gonna tell you about every book I DNF'd. I'll put some images up at the screen of all the books I DNF'd. Obviously there's a lot. I had 2 weeks of just lying in bed, reading or watching things. So I spent a lot of time consuming media in both book and visual form. So yeah, I DNF'd a lot of books. Hopefully this is enough time for you to have a quick look at what I DNF'd. I'm not going to get into why I DNF'd each one. I don't know how long my voice will last. I need to talk about the books I did finish for this vlog. Okay, so I was reading Divine Tides by Nala Verne. So in this book, Leora has spent her life stuck on an airship that's basically a floating gated community with knights. And her dad is the captain. Think stern, overprotective, and not entirely forthcoming. It was giving me Ariel and King Triton dynamic. So the ground in this world is off limits because it contains the void, and the void promises a fate worse than death and is slowly creeping across the lands. Rich people abandoned the poor back in the day, and the poor built airships to take to the skies. In this world, some people have magic, and others use ether crystals that have been left behind by gods, and they're used to create magic. Anyway, enter Verres, the pirate king, a menace to society and a walking red flag with enough secrets to fill a void. He boards her ship like, "Hey girl, want to help me collect some cursed artifacts and maybe emotionally devastate each other?" And then Leora discovers that the world is far bigger than the floating tin can she grew up on, and that she's capable of more than she previously thought. It was giving, I can show you the world. Oh my God. I am sorry for putting you through that. For those who want to know, Verres' masculine scent is aged wood and velvet musk. This was a fantasy that felt like a sky pirate mythology meets steampunk fantasy romance. Leora was a very determined, sheltered heroine, and she wasn't instantly competent once she hits the ground, but she struggles, adapts, and claims her power. And then we have Verres, who is exactly the brand of morally grey that makes BookTok girlies wet. He's dangerous, but not in a needs jail time way, more in a he has a tragic backstory kind of way. Their dynamic was full of suspicion, destiny, and yearning. It was one girl's journey from sheltered airship gremlin to pirate fucker and world saver. The next book I read, I'm trying to speed through these because my voice is already going out, was Hot for Slayer by Ali Hazelwood. Fangs, flirtation, Sudoku, and centuries of bad decisions. For hundreds of years, vampire Ethel and slayer Laszlo have been locked in a very dramatic enemies to death feud that mostly consists of him trying to stab her and her sassing him hard. But one day, whilst saving her life, Laszlo gains a head injury and becomes memory wiped, confused, and suddenly very polite and into Ethel. Now he's sleeping on her sofa like a 6'2" homicidal house cat, and he's doing her Sudoku puzzles with her with intense slayer concentration, eating her food and perhaps wanting to eat her too. And as Laszlo slowly regains fragments of his past, including the, right, I used to hunt you for a living bit, Ethel realizes two things. One, she's extremely into him, and two, she would very much like him to not remember the mortal enemies part. This was like if Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Love Hypothesis and the Roadrunner and Coyote dynamic had a baby. There's fantastic tension and the absolute absurdity of a vampire worrying about her lack of a bed while her sworn slayer foe asks if he can borrow a fresh towel. It was really fun. You had centuries of hatred, a soft domestic interlude, and the dawning realization that love is complicated. It was just delightfully silly, undeniably hot, and the sex scene, though, was very brief. That was the only letdown of the book. I'm like, oh my god, after everything, Ali, you're going to skimp on the sex scene? What? That being said, this was a 5-star read for me. I loved it. It was fantastic. Like I said, all I could ask for was a bit more in terms of length and sex scene write-ups, but otherwise, fantastic. Fun time. 5 stars. Then I read Coffin Moon by Keith Orosson. So we have Dwayne Minor, and he just wants a peaceful post-Vietnam life, but then his family is violently murdered and his life changes course. So Dwayne and his furious, newly orphaned 13-year-old niece Julia go on a cross-country revenge tour featuring undead children who hate cutlery, DIY silver bullet making, and the 1970s Pacific Northwest, back when it was 90% rain and 10% serial killers. This was overall a road trip story. If the playlist was just the sound of people screaming, it was a lot of Vietnam, PTSD, family issues, classic monster horror, and gritty thriller. There was a lot of drug dealing and war flashbacks, which is not something I enjoy reading about. And for some reason, I just did not care about the characters, which sucks. Just couldn't feel anything for them. For me, this book was a mix of the movie Sinners and Logan and the book Let the Right One In. So if those appeal to you, you might like how this turned out. I gave this a 3.25. I then read Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. This is about Vera, who is an ex-statistics professor whose mother told her that bisexuals don't exist. And then Vera watched the universe roll snake eyes and kill 8 million people in the weirdest ways possible. She then becomes a depressed recluse who's just trying to vibe in her existential crisis era, but one day a federal agent shows up like, hey bestie, a Vegas casino is winning too much money and I need a math girly. And then suddenly she's knee-deep in suspicious jackpots, reality glitches, and the question, did the casino break physics? Or is the universe itself on an eldritch bender? Together, Vera and Agent Lane determine whether improbable luck is a clue or a weapon. This was a mystery that moves very, very fast. The stakes escalated nicely, in my opinion, and the book balanced humor with emotional depth. There were a lot of gut punch moments about grief, randomness, survivor's guilt, and meaning in a senseless world. Obviously, a big theme too was luck versus probability versus fate and just the randomness of existence. But I actually had a really fun time with this. I thought it was fantastic. To me, this is very reminiscent of the books There Is No Anti-Memetics Division by Quantum and The Deep Estate by Kevin Kane. It was like a mixture of those two. It was quite horrific in terms of the death elements in this, which also reminded me of, is it Final Destination? The one with like the crazy kills? It was like that as well, but I gave this a 4.5 stars. I had a really good time. The next book I read was The Memory Collector by Dit Mezev. What if you could go back for 1 hour into your past? 4 people in this book try it, and big shocker, the new time travel service that promises no paradoxes and no consequences immediately malfunctions. So we have Elizabeth, who just wants one more moment with her son. That was the POV that got me the most. Then we have Andy, who just wants to find the girl who ghosted him before ghosting was a thing. Logan, who wants to relive his extreme sports glory days without the part where he becomes paralyzed. And Brooke, who just wants a guilt-free hour where she isn't haunted by her past mistake. But all of a sudden, these 4 characters get stuck in the past for longer than the 1 hour allotment, and their backstories end up being interconnected like the world's saddest group project. They also find out there was someone else there during all of their big tragic moments in their past. So this was like Before the Coffee Gets Cold if someone added a murder subplot and everyone had a lot more trauma. So each POV brings something different to the table. You had grief, love, guilt, and yearning, and all of them intersected in the central mystery that gradually reveals itself. So I think if you like time loops, mysteries, and learning that fate is a jerk, you'll vibe with this. For me, however, I was frustrated. Even though we were told a fact about the time travel, I was hoping it wouldn't be the case since other facts about the time travel turned out not to be true, but unfortunately that remained true, and that was just very unsatisfying for me. I thought all of this just for that to end up that way. Really? I guess it's about the journey, not the ending in this, but I was just hoping that some characters would get a better ending than they originally had, and other people got better endings that I didn't feel deserved it as much. So unfortunately this ended up being a 3 stars for me just because I got annoyed by how things played out, especially regarding some characters doing things that they knew that they shouldn't do so that certain things wouldn't happen, but then they did them anyway. And the reason for doing it wasn't strong enough in my opinion. I'm like, oh, you could get around that. You know, you could be like, oh, I will, but I have to wait a certain time. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, there was just something there that annoyed me. And then the next book I read was Maggie's Grave by David Sodergren. So this is based in Auchenmullen, which is a Scottish town that only has 47 people still living there because everyone else had the good sense to move far, far away from the creepy mountaintop that contains a witch's grave. And that grave belongs to Maggie Wall, who was slaughtered along with her unborn child during the witch hunt era. And unfortunately, Maggie decides that it's time to clock back in for one final shift. And soon you've got full-on carnage sweeping the town as Maggie comes looking for revenge, justice, and her bebe. So I was expecting the ha again with this, but this has less emotional heart and just so much more fucking gore and carnage. Just, whoa, it's a slaughterfest. It is, would you call this splatterpunk? Perhaps. I think it's a splatterpunk. With a nasty slice of folk horror. The characters are very messy in this one, and the witch violence goes hard. This bitch be covering up your sewer pipes and out your coochie, bruh. So if you like your horror mean, witchy, and absolutely feral, then you'll eat this one up like a cursed scone. While I normally cheer on women who were killed as witches in getting their revenge, a la, Slewfoot, in this case, I couldn't get behind all of Maggie's choices, especially in regards to choosing to slaughter mothers and their children. That was like, I'm like, I get it, Maggie, what was done to you was fucked up, but have some discernment, bro. Like, yes, kill all the men, since it was all men that slaughtered her. Kill any woman who backs the actions of these shitty men, but like mamas and their newborn babies, no, not the mamas and the bubbas. But yeah, this ended up having a bit of a twist that I was here for. I was like, yeah, bitch got what bitch deserved, to be honest. So look, it was a fun bloody time, but it was a bit too slasher fest for me. I'm not a slasher fest person. So I've given it a 3.25 because, like I said to you, I couldn't really back the villain as well. So I was a bit left in a bit of a moral grey zone. Morally grey zone. Oh my God. It's so hard for me to talk. Those were all of the books I read. Before I sum up every book I read in this reading vlog in a sentence, I also finished off my matcha quest. So my matcha quest is over, and I'm going to tell you the top 3. In third place, we actually have a 3-way tie with Bali Bowler's Pistachio Pepe, Operator Sun's Lavender Matcha, and Now's Peanut Cream Matcha. So those were all tied in third place. Second place was taken by Dua Bakery's Strawberry Malt Matcha with a 9 out of 10. And the top pick with a 9.5 out of 10 was Bali Bowler's Matcha Misu, which is like a tiramisu take on a matcha. So that was my absolute favorite. Obviously, Bali Bowler was in here twice. I do like the way that they make their matcha, the smoothness, the balance of the sweet and the bitter, and the flavor combos. So I will always probably check out any new flavors they have. That being said, I need a new quest for summer, a drink quest. So I am essentially trying out any drink that is not coffee, chocolate, or matcha. So I'm thinking I'm going to be having a lot of fruit or tea or spiced drinks or mocktails or juices, just everything else that's not matcha, chocolate, and coffee. So that will be my summer drink quest. Now let me sum up all the books I read for you in this reading vlog. The Fox and the Devil by Kirsten White, A Forensics Fanatic Simps for a Murder Suspect, Divine Tides by Nala Verne, A Sky-Raised Girlie teams up with a morally grey pirate king to rewrite the cosmic balance and annoy a death god, Hot for Slayer by Ali Hazelwood, a vampire ends up playing house with her amnesiac slayer nemesis and catches feelings way faster than he regains his memories. Coffin Moon by Keith Rosson, a Vietnam veteran and his grief-fueled niece chase a monstrous vampire across the 1970s Northwest on a vengeance-fueled road trip that tests their humanity. Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. A grieving statistician and a federal agent team up to investigate a reality-breaking lucky casino in the aftermath of an absurd mass casualty anomaly. The Memory Collector by Deet Mezav. 4 strangers travel back to the hour that broke them and discover their tragedies are woven together by one hidden dangerous truth. Maggie's Grave by David Sodergren. A wrathful witch awakens and tears through a dying Scottish town in a brutal atmospheric folk horror bloodbath. Those were all the books that I read for this reading vlog. Let me know a recent read for you down below, and until next time, stay wild, Star Child.